Aiden White, does putting a question mark at the end of an allegation suffice?
No, it seems to me that what Shirin Mazari has just said actually confirms my real concern about this. The journalist is an honest person who will admit an honest mistake. He admits that he maybe was in the wrong place and he shouldn't have been there.
No, he didn't.
Okay, that's fair enough.
It may well be. He had met these people.
But the fact that he's met these people as a journalist does not mean that he's a spy. You cannot, on the basis of the fact that journalists meet people, that they are automatically spies. That is a scandalous thing to say.
We are putting a question on it. But you can't say we should. You're saying we should not question. I mean, you're saying give everybody a free hand, and we have had incidents of journalists creating situations, giving false evidence, like the two French journalists who had somebody fake being a Taliban so they could get their story. These incidents are too many in Pakistan.
By putting a specific journalist under threat.
No, but I'm sorry. We have a right to question what foreigners do in our country. Just because they happen to be American, we should not question them. That is an absurdity. Where was your
Shirin Mazari, let me just come to you now. Shirin Mazari, we've been speaking with the government and we've been doing our own digging here on Dawn News, and an official, an unnamed official, if you'd allow us to do the same, has told us that Matthew Rosenberg didn't actually travel to FATA, or the areas that were not allowed for him to enter. So that's the information that's coming into us here at Dawn News. How do your employees, Shirin Mazari, you said that you have a right to question international and American journalists, but I know how my colleagues feel about this within Pakistan. How do your employees feel about this article?
I think we're very comfortable with it because we feel we've done nothing wrong. And the fact is that if Matthew Rosenberg admitted he traveled to FATA, it's very strange that some government official now says he didn't, shows how much they're keeping a check of the situation. And the fact of the matter is that that is a sensitive area. And if Rosenberg is meeting without permission, government officials who are not supposed to be meeting foreigners, then I think if we report a factual incident, there is nothing wrong with it. I mean, what you're saying is we should allow American journalists to do exactly as they please in our country. I'm sorry, that is not acceptable given the record of absurdities committed by these people in this country.
Okay, but if he was working for the CIA, do you really think that the CIA would choose the Wall Street Journal as the best disguise?
That's not my issue. I'm not concerned who the CIA chooses or doesn't choose. I think we have a right to question. What I find strange is that you are saying we should not question any journalist's activities. But when the New York Times labels our journalists a Taliban, I don't see Mr. Aiden's group getting concerned about it. Why not? Why don't they take up that issue with the New York Times? But
labelling a journalist a Taliban doesn't put him at the risk of being beheaded, as we have seen. We have seen our colleagues from Geo News being shot working in the tribal areas.
If he's labeled a Taliban, he can be killed by NATO or American forces. Are you trying to say that NATO and the Americans don't kill Taliban? So equally, the threat is equally grave from the other side. If the New York Times labels somebody a Taliban, they come under threat because they're living in a country where the Americans can hunt down the Taliban. So why are you saying labeling somebody a Taliban is not endangering somebody's lives?
Okay, so some people say that you have a vendetta against the Americans and the US in particular, because you have long said that the United States has pressurized the International of Strategic Studies, Institute of Strategic Studies, into you losing your job.
I'm afraid then you're not very well equipped with my writings on the Americans even before that. I've been critical of them for many years. And secondly, when this government was coming into power, I knew that I would be leaving because I have my own political differences with the government. So it is not, I mean, this is really silly to say because we are critical of the Americans, we have a vendetta. I mean, that reflects a bizarre bias on your part, I'm afraid, not on my part, Saima.
Okay, well, I've actually heard from various sources telling me that you do feel very strongly against the Americans, Shirin Mazari, but I don't want to get too much into that. Let's go back to Aiden White from the International Federation of Journalists, who says that he would like to comment to Aiden.
Yes, just one sort of final comment. First of all, I want to make it clear that the IFJ is an organisation that is able to criticise and does criticise absolutely any government, any country when they're violating the rights of journalists. And I want to assure Shirin Mazari, we have made many comments on attacks on Pakistani journalists and the rights of Pakistani journalists, and we have criticised many times the American Army and the American state for actions they've taken against the media. So we have no problem about that. But my major concern is this. My major concern is this, that when you put a question mark against a journalist and raise a rumour and speculate about whether a journalist who's asking perfectly valid professional questions in order to find out the truth about what's going on, when journalists raise question marks over the basic work that journalists do, they put our profession and everyone who works in it at risk. And I would ask you to really think very seriously about doing this again. If we're going to accuse a journalist of being a spy, which it seems to me is the most dangerous thing you can do, you have to have good evidence on which to do it and not base it upon pure rumour and speculation.
You have not read our story. We do not base it on rumour and speculation. I would suggest that you first acquaint yourself with the story that we did before you...
Aiden White has read the story. We sent it to him. Shirin Mazari, let me ask you one final question. What's your understanding of what journalism is and what journalists do?
Listen, I have a very good understanding of it. I'm not about to give you a lecture, but I suggest that you don't question other journalists' credibility because you're trying to prove a particular point. You have hurled all sorts of accusations against me, like I have a vendetta against the Americans and so on. This is not journalism. This is absolutely not journalism. This is a trial by the media, and I'm not prepared to take this nonsense.
Shirin Mazari, thanks very much indeed for joining us live tonight on Newseye. Good to have you with us. Right, you are watching Newseye. We're going to take a very quick break. After that, we'll catch up on the rest of the day's news, including the Palestinian Authority says, frustrated by the US-led efforts for peace, says that they might call on the UN to call for an independent state. Stay tuned to Newseye as we investigate.